A pipe is commonly a technique for passing information from one program process to another. Angular being an application development framework which holds data, it has to pass the data from one part of the application to another. So usage of pipes is quite vital. With that said, I, Bhavita, on behalf of Edureka, welcome you to today's tutorial on Angular pipes. So without further ado, let's look into the agenda for today. We're going to start off with understanding what pipes are. We're going to step right ahead and understand why we need pipes in Angular, and then look at the types of pipes in Angular. With that said, we're going to look at first type, that is built-in pipes in Angular, and the second type, which is custom pipes in Angular. And finally, we're going to close this today's session with a demonstration of creating pipes. But before we get started, make sure you're subscribed to Edureka YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to never miss an update. Also, if you're interested in online training certification, do check out the link given in the description box below. Now let's get started. What exactly are pipes? Now, briefly in my introduction, I've already mentioned that pipes actually pass on data from one part of the application to another. Now, speaking of Angular pipes, as you see in the picture, data is being passed into the pipe and it gives you a transformed data or a reformed data. Now, to quote in a definition, pipes are basically a simple function to use in template expression to accept input value and return a transform value. We should also note that pipes are very useful because you can use them throughout your application just by declaring it only once. Now, definitely, how are pipes used in our programming is our question. To answer that, our pipes are denoted by a filter function or just a line. Now, how exactly do we transform data using pipes? So basically, as I've already mentioned, pipes are defined only once in our web application. And while declaring only once, it can repeatedly be used by our web application. Now, this can be done by calling it frequently. Now, as you can see in the example given here, it is a replica of how pipe looks. Now, on your left-hand side is our data. Say we have birth date that we need to pass on as our data. We use a pipe symbol and our pipe function. What are pipe functions? We'll get into that further ahead in our session today. Now, basically, pipes are extremely useful feature and it is very simple way to transform data because it basically takes on input and transforms the output as the input to another set of pipe. Now, this is an interesting feature as each and every output is being transformed as input to our next set of pipes. This way, our data will always come as a reformed format. With that said, let's understand why exactly we need to use pipes in Angular. Now, briefly, I've already explained what pipes do. So, when you take data and enter it into a pipe, it gives you a transformed information or transformed values. Now, how good would the feature be if these values can be used as input to another set of pipe? So this exactly is why pipes are very handy. It takes the data as input and transforms it into an output. Similarly, it converts this output as an input to another set of pipe. If put into definition, pipe basically is used to combine two or more commands, and in this, the output of one command acts as an input into another command, and this command's output may act as input to the next command, and the process will so on proceed. Now, the interesting part is to see how many types exist in our pipes. Pipes can be categorized. Now, in categories of pipes, we have two types, which is pure pipes and impure pipes. Now, as the names get interesting, we'll also have definitions and explanations for each of the categories in pipes. Now, as the name suggests, pure pipes are the pipes which are executed only when pure change of the input value is being detected. When you have to have a change, in this case, our pure pipe will be used. It should also be noted here that pure is by default. Now, in case you have to set the pipes to impure, you have to set it manually. That is by coding. But pipes by default is being set to pure. Now, what exactly are impure pipes? Well, impure pipes, on the other hand, execute every time irrespective of source has changed or not. Now, let's look into the definition of both pure and impure pipes. Pure pipe, as I've already mentioned before, is called when Angular detects a change in a value or parameters passed to the pipe, while impure pipe is called for every change detection cycle, no matter whether the value or parameters change. Now, each of the pure and impure pipe is being recognized by the property @pipeDecorator. Now, what this is what you understand here. Now, as you can see here, pipe decorator will have the values of both pure and impure pipe. In pure pipe, the pure property is being set as true, which you can see on your left-hand side. And in impure pipe, pure property has been set as false, which you can see on your right-hand side. Now here I might also add that impure property can be converted into pure property. And your guess might also be true that it can easily be converted by changing your property value. Now further, we'll look into the types of pipes in Angular. In types, we have built-in pipes and custom pipes, as I've mentioned earlier. In built-in pipes, we have parameterized pipes and chaining pipes. Of course, custom pipes, as the name suggests, it do not include any types, as the user has been customizing each of the pipes. Now, what exactly is parameterized pipes? When we can pass any number of parameters to pipe by using a simple semicolon function, we can categorize those kinds of pipes as parameterized pipes. I'll address this when we are creating pipes. In chaining pipes, as the name suggests, it is a combination of multiple pipes. Now, why don't we look deeper into each of the pipes? But before we get right ahead, we'll look into the usage of pipes in a template. Now, here, I might also add that you can define pipes in a template, which is your HTML part of your component. Now, to apply your pipe operator within a template expression, you have to enclose this within double curly braces. Now, within your double curly braces comes your property as well as your data. Your data comes towards your left-hand side, our pipe operator separating between our data and the property of pipes. The property here is date. Now, just like date, there are many more pipe properties which we'll look into in our built-in types. Now, it's extremely simple to use pipes in our templates. Now, speaking of built-in Angular pipes, as the name suggests, built-in pipes are something that is already built and existing in our Angular applications in order for us to use and perform all the pipe operations. They are pre-established in our Angular operations. They include transformations for internationalization, which use local information to format data. Now, there are several types of built-in pipes. We'll look into it later. Basically, built-in pipes are also commonly used for data formatting. Now, data can be formatted using several types of built-in pipes. Hence, let's look into those types. The first type is date type, which was the first to be identified. The next is uppercase pipe, lowercase pipe, currency pipe, and the latest is the decimal pipe. Along with that comes a percent pipe. Now, date pipe, as the name suggests, formats date. So does the uppercase, like uppercase, and lowercase for lowercase. Currency pipe, on the other hand, transforms currency string, while decimal string, and percentile, just the name suggests, percentage string. So why don't we look at the resultant of each of the type? Now, in case of date pipes, towards your right-hand side, you see the formatting of usage of pipe, and towards your left-hand side, you see how it is being used in our template or HTML document. Now, say you want the data short time. In that case, just like I have mentioned before, usage of our data is towards your left hand of the operator of pipe, and towards your right hand you give your property. Now when you mention your property, the difference you see from earlier examples to this is you mention along with your property the format that you want it. Here, if I want the time format, mention short time, and hence you get the value of the property. Also, your data can be set as any particular variable name. Now make sure you pass all the types of data in your p tag or paragraph tag of your HTML. Now looking at the uppercase pipe property, the same syntax is being applied, except since this comes as a string, your data should be passed in single quotes. Similarly for the lowercase pipe as well. Next comes the currency type. Again, in the currency type, since your data can be taken as the decimal format, it can be passed with pointers. Again, our parameterized type of pipes have been implemented here, since we have used a colon as the separator to pass on each of the parameter. Now here, as you can see, code, symbol, and symbol narrow is our secondary parameters. Next, we have the decimal pipe. Dash here represents the decimal integers after your pointers as to how many decimal units should be present after your pointers. In our first example, if we say 3.1-2, which means I want 2 integers after my decimal, while -4 represents 4 integers after my decimal. Similarly, in our percentage pipe as well, it is corrected to 3 and 2 respectively. But if you don't specify any particular pointers here, it will correct to the maximum number of pointers that it can take. Now, we have almost covered everything in our built-in Angular pipes. Hence, we will move ahead and look into our customized pipes. In custom pipes, we need to understand what exactly custom pipes are. Now, Angular basically will allow you to create your own type of function. You don't have to wrap your head around your built-in functions and just to stick to the functions that exist and are being provided by your Angular. You can go ahead and create your own functions depending on your own input and output based. So basically, most of the basic pipe functions transform a single value into a new value. But then, allowing your custom pipes, you can make sure you create multiple input values in order to have good number of output values. So how exactly do you use custom pipes? Now, custom pipes can be used as your class component. For that, here I've considered an example. Say you want to drag and drop a particular photo and retrieve all your particular information from the photo. In this case, I have created a file. Over there, I have named my image. I have also mentioned the size of the image along with the type of the image. I have defined this file inside my file component class. I have also exported my class. With that, the next thing that I do is, again, I have created my property in my template file and within my paragraph tags. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is, I'm going to give my custom pipe a name. As you've already seen, my custom pipe's name is file. To retrieve the name or the property name from the data that I have passed, in this case my image, I am going to have to call it as file.name. And if I want size, that's right, file.size. And file size will be my custom pipe property. Now this property can be used as my pipe property. So how exactly to create my custom pipe? The first thing is to call our property. In this case, I'm going to call my file size pipe. For that, the first thing that I'm going to create is, I'm going to call this as my class for file size. And once I do that, we are going to set up and name our pipe. Again, like I've already mentioned, my pipe property name will be file size. Now I have the class set up, I have the property set up. The next thing is to use these both and call it in order the functionality to be working. Now, as I've already mentioned earlier, pipe decorator will be used in order to call our property. Now, using our pipe decorator, I'm going to name my property as file size. Also, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to import my pipe into my TypeScript file. Now, this part is a crucial thing, so do not miss out on this. The next thing is to make sure that we have imported and injected our pipe property in our TypeScript file. So all we need to do is to supply a name property that corresponds to our template code name as well. So do not forget to inject and import in your ng module. That is, import your file property, that is file size pipe, also inject and declare in the ng module. With that, you would have created your custom pipe and it is ready to use as your property. With that said, why don't we go ahead and create our pipes? Now for creation of pipes, firstly we need to create a component. Now here I'm using Visual Studio Code as my editor. For creation of components, how to create a project in Angular and everything related to setting up of Angular project, I'll link you a video in description box. You can check it out. Now firstly, I have created a component known as pipe, as you can see here. So in my pipe, I have all my files set up, my template file, which is HTML, TypeScript file, and styling CSS file. Now let's go ahead and start with our creation. So the first thing that we are going to create in order for us to understand our pipes is creating a property. Now what property do we want to create? Let me go ahead and create a date property. So here I'm going to give a property saying what date. Now this what date gives us today's date. Say this is of the type string. Similarly, let's say a text of the type string as well. Now this should be colon. So should this be? Now once we do that, we need to call this whatever date that we just created here. Say new date. Now this is the built-in property that gives us what date is to be printed. Now this I'm going to say to date string. Now here similarly I'm going to say this text, and let's say text is hello world. Now once we do that, the next step is to transform data in our templates. So for that, I'm going to open my HTML file. So here, as you already know, I'm going to start with giving a div tag, and inside my div tag comes my p tag. Here, first things first, I am going to display my date. For that, we are going to give our interpolation, which is within our double curly braces. Let's say what date, which stores our string. Next, we'll add our pipe property. So when we add our pipe property, we can see the difference between our displaying string using interpolation and applying pipe property to our date. Now, what date holds our string? I'm going to call my pipe date, and then let's say I display this in uppercase. Now, uppercase is another built-in property of our pipes. Another tag, and here why don't we do the same thing but in lowercase? Let's see all the properties of our pipe. Why don't we, right? Lowercase. Now in our theory part, we've seen something known as a short time. So we've also noticed that we haven't used a parameterized type of pipe. Now for that, remember we need to give colon in between our properties. For that, let me go ahead and use the same thing. and modify it within that. So here what I'm going to do is I am going to say display my date, but in the form of short time. Also, the same thing I'm going to copy and in the format of MMDDYYY. Now, the main thing that I have to mention here is make sure you specify this date in your lowercase. The system specified or built-in function per se should be maintaining a particular type of syntax. So now let's go ahead and see our output. Now I'm just going to say npm start here. It's going to take quite a time to compile. Now here compilation is done successfully. Let's go ahead and look at our output. Now in our output, as you can see, the first thing that I typed was just date. Now it's going to retrieve all the information about today's date over here. The next thing that I retrieved is date but with uppercase. Now as you can see, it has been reflected here. Similarly lowercase. And the next thing that I said was short time. Now short time is not available in our type, or there could be a glitch where we'll see and rectify it. And similarly, I have given in the DD and YY format where it is showing. So let's see what's wrong with the short time. Now, as I've mentioned earlier, it's very important to give your properties, especially built-in properties, in a proper format as it is system properties. Now, it's important to give the syntax properly, which I have corrected here. I'm going to save this and we'll have a look at the output now. As you can see here, my output has this. Now, this takes my time, which is being set by the compiler. Now, all my date property or all my date built-in property is working. Now, let's go back and see what else property we need to implement. Now, since we've seen about date property, let's go ahead and see our uppercase and lowercase, how it works. Now, I have created a text. So using that text, I am going to say, I'm going to create an interpolation. I'm going to call that text using pipe. I'm going to say upper text. I'm going to say uppercase. And similarly, I'm going to say lowercase. Now, this should be, say, my name or even text pipe. Now save this. Let's go back to our output screen and see this. Now here, as you can see, my text was hello world in lowercase, hello world in uppercase. Now we have seen built-in properties enough. Let's move on and create our own custom property of pipes and see how that works. So in order to create my custom pipe, the first thing that I'm going to do is, let me terminate my screen and create my custom pipe. So here I'm going to create something called as file pipe. So I will be creating my custom pipe as ngg pipe file pipe. Say enter. Now my pipe has been created. Along with my pipe, there is a pipe transform that is happening, which I'll be addressing right now. Now, the reason why I gave my pipe property as file, because I'll be creating a component known as file here. So we're going to use this component for creation of our custom tag. So let me just say file. Now my file component has been created. Going into my TypeScript file here, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to be creating a bunch of properties for an identity named file. Now that's going to be like this. So I have created a file, and inside my file I have name property, size property, and type property. Now using these properties, I'm going to retrieve the information of my file. Now for that, the next step is create my pipes and make it retrievable from our template. So I'm going to go into my HTML. Again, the same procedure I'm going to repeat as I did for my built-in pipes. I'm just going to specify this within my div and paragraph tag. Here, file name will give the name of the file. File size will retrieve the file size. And since I have given pipe here, it will give me the file size. Now this, I'm going to save this. Now, as we've discussed in our custom pipes theory part, file size is our property. Now in this case, it is our custom property for pipes. So I'm going to use this property and I'm going to use it in my pipes that I just created. Here, specify this as any. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to say any. Save this. Now, since my file size should be retrieved here, I'm going to specify this name as file size, and so as this file size. Now since this is a pipe, I'm going to say it is a pipe. Now here, what I'm going to transfer is, say I'm going to transfer a string, and that's going to be my number. And instead of return null, now here, instead of the existing statement, I have set size number, and I'm going to return a statement here. Say I return this formula instead, which gives me the size of a particular file. I'm just going to save this. Now this should retrieve my file size. So let's go ahead and see the output here. Now we have successfully compiled. Let's go back to our output and see our output. Now as you can see, firstly, I gave my name, that is file name. It's been retrieved, and similarly, my file size is also been retrieved. So this way our custom tag is also working. With this, we've come to the end of today's session. Now, pipes are quite easy concept in Angular, and it is very easy to implement and retrieve data from it also. But again, it's a very important concept. So I recommend you to try all the particular functions, create your custom pipes, everything possible with pipes, so you master this concept. I hope you have learned something from this session. Until we meet again next time, happy learning.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!